Hello, everyone. I felt compelled to add my voice to the chorus of testimonies regarding the 2025 Feast of Trumpets. On February 9th of 2002, I had a dream that I was at my mother's house, and I looked out the window and saw something that didn't look right. Upon going outside, I saw that there was a great storm coming from the north, and that a huge flock of birds had landed in the yard. Those birds on the west side of the house seemed to represent a general population of birds. They were so exhausted from flying ahead of this storm that they were lying on the lawn with their wings spread out and appeared to be gasping for air. And in fact, they were so tired that you could walk right up to them and touch them and they wouldn't even try and get away. On the east side of the yard, there was also a huge flock of birds. However, these birds were pure white. And while they were tired, they still had the energy to stand and walk around a little bit. The next thing I noticed was a simply enormous serpent trying to enter the house through the well window. I sent Mom to get a shotgun so we could dispatch it. And when she came back, she had a box of shells, and I asked her how many shells were available, and she told me 86. At that point, the dream ended. Now, I've wondered about this dream for over 20 years, and I recently became suspicious about this dream having some applicability to the 2025 Feast of Trumpets. When I ran the date calculations between February 9th, 2002 and this year's Feast of Trumpets being the 23rd and the 24th, I found there were 8,627 days between my dream and the 23rd and 8,628 days between my dream and the 24th. Consulting Strong's, I found that the Hebrew number for 8627 has the meaning to confirm, and 8628 to blow as in a trumpet. Now I find it particularly interesting that God found two consecutive Strong's numbers that matched the 23rd and the 24th and calculated my dream to give it on the date 23 years in the past to point to this very time. But wait, there's more. The number of days between my dream and the first day of the Feast of Trumpets was 8,627. However, that number in reverse is 7,268. The Hebrew Strong's number for 7268 gives the meaning to quake. The Greek number is non-existent because they don't go that high. However, as some of you have probably noticed already, the first three digits of that are 726, which is the Greek Strong's number for harpazo, from which we get the word rapture. So not only did God find two consecutive Strong's numbers conveying the meaning to confirm and to blow as in a trumpet to match with the Feast of Trumpets, he found a number for to confirm that has 726 or rapture written in it backwards. Is this a wink and a nod that not only is the Feast of Trumpets significant, but that the rapture may actually occur on that date? Another bit of interest is the number 86, which is the number of shells Mom told me that were available. That's the very last thing that happened in the dream before I woke up. Now you'll note that the number 86 is the first two digits of the two Hebrew Strong's numbers. Did God provide that 86 as a checksum, as a validation code to show that 86 is indeed the number you should be looking for, though multiplied by 100? This would have allowed him to provide a checksum for the dream without letting me know that its fulfillment was more than 20 years in the future. Now, there's slightly more to the dream than what I told you, but you have the salient points for the purposes of our discussion. Regarding its meaning, the idea that came to me as I meditated on this was that the birds were flying ahead of the storm. That is, the storm had not arrived yet. Now, the two groups of birds, we had the general population birds on the west side of the house, which were exhausted, and we had the pure white birds on the east side of the house, who were able to stand up and walk around a little bit. What I take from this is that when the storm does finally come, the white birds will be able to take flight and escape the storm. The general population of birds on the west side of the house who are exhausted will be overtaken by the storm. And this to me seems to be a picture of those destined for the rapture and those destined for the tribulation. My friends, I fear we are perilously close to the rapture and tribulation. I believe that those of us who have placed our faith in Jesus Christ will be taken in the rapture prior to the 7 years of judgment coming upon the earth. However, those who have not will remain for the 7 years of the most difficult time that has ever been or ever will be on this planet. How can you know that you're among the saved? The gospel of Jesus Christ is very simple. We are all sinners in need of a Savior. We all stand guilty before a holy God. God loved us so much that while we were still sinners, He sent His Son, Jesus Christ, born of a virgin. He lived a perfect life and died on the cross on our behalf. He became sin for us and took the punishment we deserved. The Bible tells us if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised Him from the dead, you will be saved.